Yeah. Welcome, guys. So this is the start of a series that we're going to be talking to active open source developers to understand how open source has shaped their careers and why they keep on like working on like open source projects. The whole idea started with the conversation that me and FX had with Josie earlier. So we're talking about ways to like improve the developer ecosystem in Solana right now because we thought that the best way to improve the ecosystem is when people individually like solve problems that are particular to them. The way Fibo attacked Solana program with like coming up with Pinocchio and other individuals have come up with their own projects. Like we have Molox, Lightest VM, Typhoon, Still, whatever. People coming up with these individual projects basically like boosted the entire ecosystem. And okay, we're talking about ways to improve this. And one of the ways were okay, open up grants. And me and FX were like, okay, what about the social level? At the social level, we could like encourage people to try open source more. So that's why the whole idea was birthed. And oh, let's talk to open source developers. And the first person that came to my mind was Nagaprasad because Nagaprasad has been killing it with open source. Like if you don't know Nagaprasad, you're definitely not on GitHub. Anyone who's on Solana GitHub knows who he is. So I'm going to let him introduce himself now and like tell us his journey and how open source has helped shape it.
Hey guys, I'm Naga and I'm from India. My Solana journey started about 3 years ago. I was exploring what to work on and I came about Solana, heard about what Bitcoin is, right? Then it all started and I started looking into Ethereum and then slowly Solana. I started looking more into Solana about the validator, the design, how programs are executed, parallel execution and stuff. I was much interested in how Solana was able to do parallel executions compared to Ethereum. So my all my interests were about Solana validator stuff. Then I started looking at programs. I wanted to contribute to the ecosystem. So later I joined a firm that was named Convergence. They worked on derivatives markets, basically futures, options, and swaps. There, I had a very good amount of experience building Solana contracts. It can be, integrating external contracts. So we worked with HXRO, SI options, and all. So that gave me some experience with contracts. So I slowly started making some open source contributions to Agave at the time as well, because I was looking at new feature requests or bug fixes. Any small contributions I was able to do. I just wanted to contribute to Agave, so that's how it started. Then I started working with ABK Labs recently, and so ABK Labs has me their main goal, or their main mission is contributing to open source and making the open source the king, right? Basically, we are working with Kodama and other projects trying to. Those are all open source, which are like Dash, Elos, and Vixen. On Kodama, we are trying to integrate Vixen parsers to that. So overall, right now, I guess I could say every day I wake up and I just make open source contributions every day, because all those are open source repos, and we got a great community there, because you get to meet with a lot of people, like-minded people who wants to involve, who wants to take a look at your code, whatever you're pushing, who wants to review and make suggestions on them. You also get to learn how a full-fledged organization works. You want to be sure with the CI/CD pipeline, so you don't break it. So you want to clean your code, maintain the patterns, design patterns that they are using. I think that gives you a lot of exposure towards growing your career. Also talking about Solana, I think Solana has got crack devs. They have been doing a great job, I would say. So learning from them is you could learn everything basically.
Yeah.
Solana distributed systems, right? Multi-threading. Because if you look at Agave itself, Agave is a kind of high performance system. It has got a lot of complexity in it. When you start making contributions and learning from that, I think you're gonna grow your career to a point where you could have all that knowledge, right? I think that comes in handy. Before I was not into all these. I was not able to understand how the high performance system used to work, but I think now I'm slowly deep diving and trying to understand how these systems work, and just trying to build few projects alongside and just going with the flow, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, super
That's
cool.
amazing. Like your explanation just made me realize that you are the perfect first guest because basically you're saying that your day to day is open source, and that's the point of like what we're talking about. And something you said really like piqued my interest. You said your interest started with validators and it went to programs. Like that's very fascinating. Most people like their interest starts with programs and they go with validator to the validator level. Me in particular, that's how it's been for me. Like programs got boring to a point, and I was like, let what's happening in the validator. So that's pretty interesting. Like, what made you more interested in the validators before the program?
This was because I also wanted to learn Ethereum. I was studying Ethereum before. I know
Mhm.
this, no, mentioning Ethereum is not, kind of
It's fine. It's fine.
good
It's
vibe.
welcome. I started off with Ethereum. I have multiple contributions to Ethereum. It's like it's welcome. This is about devs. We don't care about chains.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but I also started out with Ethereum. I was understanding how Ethereum works under the hood, how you write programs in Solidity, and then I happened to see that Ethereum, it uses serial executions, right? Because it has a different model than Solana, because states and programs are all integrated, they are not separated, isolated, right? So you kind of need to lock all these states when you are executing a program, so you cannot do parallel executions because of that constraint. So that was the main pinpoint, or whatever you can say, kind of a point where you cannot scale, right? So that was restricting the scaling feature, I guess, which was need to be addressed. Then I looked at Solana. I heard that they are able to do parallel execution. I was more interested how they're doing it. Then I learned, they just separate all the accounts, whatever we call it as states, from programs. So, and also they have API where you have to send, whatever accounts are writable, whatever accounts, I mean the mutable, whatever accounts you're gonna mute, or whatever, what are the readable accounts. That's the client. You have to rely on sending those accounts as well. So I think this also adds to the scalability where you know which accounts are mutable and which accounts are readable before itself. So you can load these programs, and the scheduler will schedule the transactions according to these parameters, I would say. Whichever accounts are readable can obviously be executed in parallel. So instructions which has readable accounts can be executed parallelly, and whichever accounts which depend on each other, instructions depend, which are mutating the same account, they need to be sequentially executed, right? So these
Yeah.
things are kind of the differences I saw in Solana. I think that's where I wanted to understand more about validators, I guess.
Yeah. Super cool. Funny thing is that like I think you were one of the people that kind of like got me interested on Turbine because when I was starting out, I think I was part of the second cohort. I think you were part of the first. I saw like a couple of things we were shipping at the time. We were working with like P2P, some of these crates and all of those stuff, So I was particularly interested. I was like, I went to Jeff. I was like, you guys have an advanced cohort. That's for the advanced SVM. Like, how do I get it? That was partly because of what people like you in the first cohort were doing. It got me interested. There's an eager and earnest developer community brewing in Turbine that basically makes it like a standard to know what's going on the SVM layer. That's the validator client layer. So yeah, just basically got me to it got me to the next turbine cohort, and yeah, like basically that's a meeting point for all of us here. So I think the question I have to ask is, what's your process like? Like for someone that makes open source contributions every day, like what's your process like? Do you go to like the code bases of very popular GitHub repos from major protocols on Solana, and then look at the issues, and then just pick apart the ones that you like, or do you think about new features to roll out on like then you push it, or do you just go ballistic like the way you went on Pinocchio, basically pulling such a huge crate like the Tokyo? Just walk me through your process. How do you pick what to contribute whenever you're making OSS contributions?
Yeah, so it depends on if you want to contribute to a certain repo. If you are interested in that repo, you can go and check out what are the current issues they have. Many repos will already have some feature requests which are looking for open source contributions, so they kind of encourage people and community to make open source contributions to those feature requests, not because their devs can do it, but they want to support and encourage the community and kind of make them understand how the what the repo is doing, and also they want to build the community to get more contributions in. I think that's what is a kind of a win for open source repo, encouraging more people to come in and start making contributions. So the first thing I would do is I would go to a repo that I'm very much interested in, that I kind of have cloned it or forked it, and have started looking at it, and started trying to deep dive. What are the components, various components are working, how they work, how they interact. Then I would check the issues. What are the listed issues, which are many repos also mark them as good first issues. They have this issues marked as good first issues that basically are very good for people who are contributing for the first time. So they can take those issues initially. It would be a very small change if it's for the first time. You want to make a major change or like that, you can see all other issues as well. And you also need to make sure if anyone else is doing, because I happened to be in a situation where they were one was already working on that, and I happened to make the same contribution, and so yeah, you don't want your work to be kind of wasted because of that, but still you learned, right? You learned how to
Yeah.
make a PR to that repo. So yeah, basically going through the issues, filtering them out, and then understanding what is the issue and what changes are needs to be done. Then you go ahead and make those changes. Also, you should adhere to the guidelines. So that is one thing you should need to make sure. Making fraudulent PRs or just spamming the repo, I think that's not kind of acceptable. You have to adhere to the guidelines as well. Then make a PR, make sure you clean up your code, follow the patterns, design patterns, whatever the team is having. Just explore the repo properly before making one, and you can make a PR. Then I think it's gonna take time, right? Because it's a huge repo and many people are busy working on their own stuff. It's gonna take time, but have some patience, and one or two will eventually get to that. They will add a review or suggestions or whatever. I think it's difficult to get your PRs merged in a single go, right? Without any suggestions. So you obviously get suggestions and reviews, but it's for your own growth and learning. Just learn how you could make it more better and more efficient. So you just may resolve those changes, and then people look into that again, and hopefully you get it merged. I think that's how you can make contributions.
Yeah, super cool process. I think I wanted to ask, like, so of all the open source contributions you've made, like, I wanted to ask, like, have they impacted like your day-to-day job? Do you currently have code that you reuse that you've probably written before, or do you just have like certain paradigms that you've learned by contributing to open source that you now apply in your day job, or you apply in any form of professional capacity that you might be working on? So like just walk us through, like, how has open source really just like helped you out in that aspect?
Yeah, so I just wanted to take a recent situation where we were working with RPC mocks. So at ABK Labs, we were doing some, mocking the RPC. Mocking the RPC is nothing but, you have requests and responses. You set it beforehand itself. Just mocks the RPC. You have a vector of, sorry, not a vector. It's a hash map of requests and responses that you can use it for mocking the RPC. But we had an issue with because it's a hash map, so you cannot have same requests with multiple responses. So that was a kind of issue for us because we wanted to test that case. So there was not a different way for that or an approach. So we went ahead and tried to make that change in Agave. So there initially we took a vector approach, just mapping each request and responses as a tuple in a vector. I made that PR initially. Then I got some review from John. I think John is super cool. He made very comprehensive comments, and he gave me code examples as well. I think that's super
Yeah.
cool having those people around. So they gave me this approach to use a hash map, not to break the previous API. Still use the hash map, but make the values as a vector, basically a queue of responses, right? I think that is what a senior level dev would think when you compare it with an outsider or a contributor to your repo, right? So soon after he gave me those suggestions, and also there was some CI/CD, I guess, thing. I did not make it clean, I guess. So next time I made sure all the comments were resolved. Right, you just need to go through all the comments, go to the jump to that part of a line of the code and make sure that's been resolved. You also should go to the GitHub and click on resolve right under that comment. Just you're making sure that you have read the comment and resolved it properly. So I made all the changes, and yeah, I think it got merged recently. That we right now we have not yet use those changes, but soon we are gonna work on that. The new RPC mock, and then we're gonna have our fixes, I guess.
Yeah, super cool, super cool. Apparently, any question you want to ask? I think you're muted.
Yeah, so like what made you like I feel like you do a lot of things that are ballsy. Like some of your peers, I would be scared to open some of your peers. For example, the one for adding token 2022 to Pinocchio. Were you not scared to start it? Like what gave you the confidence? Like what was it like? Like how did you like decide that okay, I'm just going to do this?
Yeah, so Token 2022, I think it was not done out of necessity, I guess. It was done out of, I kind of want to, I like Pinocchio and want to contribute to that somehow, because Pinocchio is great, talking about the performance CUs or whatever. That's the main pinpoint. CUs are very important in Solana, and CUs play a very good, great role while building your blocks. So basically, while block building, we have to the block is fixed for some amount of CUs, right? Like
Yeah.
right now, I think we have 4 million CUs per block. So you got to pack all the transactions into that 4 million CUs properly. So when you're using Pinocchio programs, so I was doing some testing with P token versus SPL token. It's already there on the Pinocchio repo, I guess. So you could see some 96% average CU reduction. So that was the average CU's reduction between these variants. So that is the impact what Pinocchio can do. Just thinking about if all the ecosystem projects on Solana uses Pinocchio and try to make those re-implementation, I think you could save a lot of CUs. You could pack a lot of transactions into a block, right? So that is possible. Then I think we could achieve more TPS as well that would accumulate, and we could support for that. Yeah, so for that reason, I was interested to make that contributions for token 2022. So that's not a program re-implementation itself. So it's an API that you can use on your Solana programs. Right now you can use it on native Rust programs, also on Anchor programs. Right, it's a kind of API. So we already have this API for token program. The API also, what is the use of this API is basically we don't have any dependencies. We just have Pinocchio as a dependency. So you can just have Pinocchio token 2022 as your dependency, and you can call all the instructions through this API. But also make sure that also we have to think that so this API is still calling the SPL token 2022 instructions because we haven't implemented the re-implementation of the SPL token 2022. Yeah,
So it's
but
like a
yeah.
client right now. Like
Yeah,
a
it's a API. Yeah, I think initially I started that in November. Slowly started to scope out what needs to be done. Token program API, that was done before. I just took it as a reference and started building it out. I think the challenge was that with extensions were a little harder because we had to implement parsing of states, bytes and states, vice versa, right? Parsing was a challenge for me. I had to understand how serialization and deserialization Borscht works in depth. For that, I think that was good learn. Then we slowly started making making additions for new extensions. Also, many people joined in. I think Taylor joined in, and there was another guy, Jerry. I also remember Perilyn might have asked some
yeah,
questions
yeah.
in that repo.
Yeah.
I don't remember, but I think I have seen you in that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But many people joined in. Also, I forgot Leo. So Leo from Metaplex, he was working in Metaplex before. Yeah, he
Yeah.
also joined in, and yeah, we got a few contributions there. And Taylor and Jerry, they happened to test it out in their programs, and that was working all fine. Many extensions they have used. So I was happy that they have already started to use it and test it. We don't need it to test it on production, but still we need to add some tests for states and all. So we got reviews from Fibo, Kevin, and few others. It's still open. Still needs some more reviews and insights. I think we'll get it soon and merge it. Yeah.
That's pretty nice. That's that's really impressive. Like it's like this is the beauty of open source, honestly. The fact that you just start something and everyone else just comes together to like build it together. And it's beautiful because okay, imagine at like okay, you don't do open source and you're job hunting. It's the when you're okay, you're going for a role now. It's very possible that most times when you're applying for this role, your interviewer just knows you, or he just like he knows you just at the point where okay, you're doing the job interview. But imagine if you're doing open source, you're making like great contributions, like you've already made your introduction before the interview, and that's a big plus for you. And even if the person hasn't seen, okay, wasn't like part of the effort, if they see that oh, this person like you has contributed to a tool that everyone in the ecosystem use, they'll be like, whoa, this guy is great. Let's get him on board. Let's hire him. So yeah, that's pretty impressive. Like it shows that like you're a pretty great dev. So yeah. FX, do you have a question you want to go on with?
Yeah, so like I was the conversation with Josie yesterday. It was more around. I think at some point it was more around like how um, we should build we should build solutions for problems that we currently have in the ecosystem instead of waiting around for cores for the core devs and to answer to like build out solutions for us. Like we could just pick up like take up some of these problems and build it out. Like so, like I wanted to ask, like, what are the problems? What are the problems that you currently see? Probably on the dev ceiling side, or probably on the program side. Like, what are the problems that you currently see that could really like you want to see like solutions for these problems?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say problems. I would say, people can just go ahead and try to make their programs more better, right? So we have seen a lot of anchor programs,
Yeah,
which are kind of less, efficient when it comes to CU's usage, as I explained. So Anchor has got a lot of abstraction, but I still think Anchor is a great, program stack when you're starting out in Solana. Also, if you want to make sure you're not doing some things and trying to get your program for any undefined behavior, right? Because Anchor has all these safety measures. It has been audited very well. It has got some very good reviews and audits. It's a safe space for people to work on and start learning Solana, and also not possibly break your code at some point of time, right?
yeah,
But if you want to risk, I won't say risk, but if you want to go up the race and you want to improve your program and you want to land transactions faster for your program, I would say you could just slowly you could just slowly move to native Rust and then slowly to Pinocchio. Native Rust would be, I think, a good one because many core Solana programs have been written in native Rust. So you can just look at that and try to re-implement that, and later you can transition to Pinocchio as well, which has a very good potential for.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna get some audits coming in for Pinocchio. After that, no one's gonna stop it from writing, in production, I
Yeah,
guess.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think
It's
okay.
pretty nice that okay, at some point of your career you learn native Rust because of there are a lot of great programs that you get access to.
Yeah,
I remember when I started off with like Solana, there were certain okay before like with smart contracts generally it's better to go with the best practices because for security reasons. And when okay a code base is written in native Rust, you're basically locked out. You don't have access. So it's pretty great to like move on to native Rust. It just opens your eyes to like all
yeah,
code bases and even the programs we have in Agave itself, like let's say the token program, there was I think there's even a the metadata program that's for the extension. But basically, long story short, you get access to all the programs and yeah,
yeah,
it's pretty
yeah.
handy.
Yep.
Pretty cool stuff. Like, because like I wanted to say because like part of the conversation we were having yesterday was that like as much as we are focusing on like education for the new entrants, people are coming to the ecosystem. There's like a lot of education on what a Solana program is, how to build your first Solana program. I think the conversation really segued into we need tutorials or education on what Anchor like dev tooling like Anchor actually does. Because I think for me, it was more of I never really cared about CUs when I was still interfacing with Solana on the client level. That's like the TypeScript level. All I just cared about was my transactional landing. And because Solana is so cheap, the money, like the gas fees were all I cared about, and it wasn't so much. But like as I went deeper and deeper down the stack, down to low level and trying to even like tinker around with SBPF, I started becoming more aware about how much CUs actually cost. So it's scary to me when I see like a 20k CU. I'm gonna like, okay, what's this? Prior to that, I'm not even going to probably care. I would probably only check the logs when my transaction fails. You understand? So I think we need more education on the intermediate side where you kind of like, okay, here's Anchor, but this is what Anchor does. This is how Anchor does what it does. Trying to like break down the macros and how the macros, you understand, basically help build like a more secure program, or like basically explain the training wheels, and then giving people the options to probably even improve the training wheels or even critique the training wheels or make it more opinionated in the sense that like they now start building stuff that's custom built for themselves that probably other people like them would fuck with over the like the like the generalist option. You understand? So I think part of what is going to help, because like we're talking about it and it's going to be like it's not really like there are very few of us that are going to take like the initiative and then rise up, like just basically go down the stack. You understand? And just basically start tinkering with like a Pinocchio. Some people are very comfortable with writing their entire program stack in Anchor, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But it's a cultural thing. It's a cultural thing in the sense that like if people are entering into the ecosystem and they realize that like it doesn't just stop at writing Anchor programs. You understand? Like you should learn. This is Anchor. This is intermediate where you learn what Anchor does. And if you really, really, really want to go like up the like niche down, you can just find some parts, probably in gossip, probably in execution or consensus that you fuck with, and then you make like PRs to critique or improve it. So like I think I'm very like what I'm just trying to say is that like I think we just need more intermediate developer education. Like, what do you guys think?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
True.
Uh, yeah, whatever you said, I think exploring Anchor macros and making people understand what exactly is being done under the hood.
Yeah,
I think that's one good thing on Solana. I think that would be good to do because Anchor has a lot of macros like init of needed, seeds, right, and then some constraints. If those constraints are violated, you throw an error at that point of time itself. Considering this, many people joining or people who are new to Solana, they want to build programs. Their choice is gonna be Anchor initially, and that's great because It's very simple. It gets you started quick, and also it has a great testing framework. Basically, provides you with everything that you need to start with. But as you start learning Anchor and you are building programs, but you want to understand what exactly is happening, right? Then you would go and check their implementation, what's happening under the hood, and just trying to map things out. What if you're sending this account, and what if it throws an error, or there's a violation, signature mismatch, or account being already initialized, or seeds are not matching. So you need to question those things. I think those questions are what you're gonna end up learning native Rust, and then you would slowly start working on Pinocchios. Those questions will make you understand what is happening under the hood. Yep, I think that's what I feel.
Yeah, yeah.
Very, 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 very valid. Like, I think, okay, a lot of people complain about, okay, Solana errors, Anchor errors aren't like that straight. It's because of there's a lot of translation. You build it with Anchor, then it goes to TypeScript. So it's difficult to like pinpoint the places where errors come from. But if you're writing native Rust, bro, just put message log. Like, you get the exact line where you're getting the issues with. So, like, native Rust, like, gives you full on superpowers, and like, everyone should, like, at some point, even if you don't like use it fully, you should like be able to like be able to
Powerful.
read and write it. Yeah.
I agree. I agree. So I think the next stuff we want to like ask is like okay, so how for like big for like big PRs like the token 2022 PR you're making on this thing on Pinocchio, like what's like the idea? Do you pick apart like certain components first and then build out those little components that becomes the big thing, or you just basically initialize, like you know how you would initialize or write like a skeleton for all of the extensions and then the program before you start adding the logic? So like, just walk us through how your process is. Obviously, it doesn't really have to be like on a it's like an opinionated way to handle it. But yeah, it's like somebody out there probably has a very similar process to you and questioning themselves. You know, like just walk us through how you probably handle that those kind of playouts.
Okay, so if you're making a contribution to an open source repo, and you're the part of the team, I mean you're not a person outside of the repo. Someone owns it already, and you're part of the team. So that depends. So if you're part of the team, then you kind of need to make small repos, sorry, small PRs. So these PRs kind of need to be, I would say, less than maybe of 300 lines of code or 500 lines of code. Because small PRs are way to go. They get easily review it and get merged quick, and that's the ideal case for a PR. But if you're someone who is doing open source contribution and you're outside the team, you cannot do that, because you have a lot of features to work on considering this Pinocchio token 2022. I don't want to make like 20 30 PRs and call people again to review it again and again. So that is why I wanted to make it a single PR. And how I broke it down is, let's say I have around, I think maybe 12 or 13 extensions. Let's say I just write each extension and add a commit to that. Make sure my work is recorded in the Git, and I push it to the branch that I'm working on. In the same way, I will make other extensions. I implement the API, setting the states, building the instruction. That is what considering each extension. So every extension, I'm gonna work it as a new commit and then push it to the branch that I'm working on. And I think later I'm done with all the extensions. Also considering I'm adding some tests for that, making sure that the logic is working properly. I would open it up for review. Until all this time, I'm having my PR as draft, so that you don't want to attract anyone else and take their time, because you're still working on it, and you have opened it for review. So that should be in draft. But then when you think you are ready and you have done everything for the PR, and then you can mark it as for review, and I would ask
Yeah,
people to review that.
yeah, yeah. Chill
Yeah,
process.
thank you. So I think it's about 40 minutes in, we've been like talking.
Yeah,
Like, Honestly, at this point, it's like we've just been asking you questions. So at this point, I'm just going to. Is there anything you want to talk about, or you feel like okay, you want to tell any of the devs in Solana, like anything on your mind, just go for it.
Yeah, I think for people who are exploring Solana, I would say just uh, explore the validators, explore the program. Start out with writing programs. I think jumping into validators is a great initiative. You would learn everything over there. How high performance systems work, how parallelisms work, and how threading is working, how async run times are working. Each every component in the validator, you will get inspired from it to build out a new thing of your own. Or if you want to learn how that works, it would encourage or inspire you to do it. Let's say you have poh implemented in validator, right? I think that's a very cool tool. I was inspired and I wanted to build exactly the same. Based on the white paper I saw on Solana, I wanted to build it, and I ended up, writing and trying to implement it, and I was so happy that I could able to do it. So these things, would, as a dev, so these things would make you learn more, and that would add it to your profile, right? Because you're trying to build new things, and as a dev, I think that is what you are supposed to be. And also it would grow your career, and also it would open up a lot of job opportunities if you're looking at. I think that is how I got into ABK Labs. So I wasn't looking for a job at that time. I was at Convergence, and I was doing, as I said, I was working on derivatives market, but I was trying to find something new and work on that. Also, I was concentrating on open source contributions as well. Then I found out about ABK Labs. They saw my contributions, and they wanted to get me into the team. That's entirely based on my GitHub. I didn't share any resume, or I didn't have a call with them. I just sent my
Wow,
GitHub.
wow, that's crazy.
That's sick. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
sick.
So they saw my GitHub and they were interested, and we had a call. We went through the process, explaining things, how things work, and about my experience, I guess. Still your GitHub plays an important role here. Whatever contributions you are making, your profile will definitely matter if you're gonna apply for a job.
Yeah, yeah, super cool. I think my parting question and like kind of like last question. I don't know about like for Perlin, but I want to just basically like ask you about like your personal projects. Like apart from open source, general open source contributions, do you have open source personal projects that you have that you probably want to share, or if you have ideas that you probably want to give out to the community and then support whoever can take the bite? Like, do you have anything in your mind?
Yeah, so yeah, personal projects, I try to do it in my weekends or whenever I have some time. Also, I know I would try to grind night, night time, and if it's
Yeah.
very important, or I feel like I want to ship it soon. So a few of them I have it. I think two of them I have the starters, native Rust Solana program starter. I also have a Pinocchio one. So these two starters, anyone looking to write their programs in Pinocchio or native Rust, they can just clone it or clone it. Then they can start writing out the contract, because we already have some states instructions with comments, right? You can
Yeah.
follow the pattern, and you can try to implement your own business logic over there. We also have some test spec set up for that. You can also test your contracts. We have also Solita integrated Metaplex Solita, so you can generate your clients for your program as well. Ideal client generation can be done. So tests can be written for that. Benchmarks are there in Pinocchio version. You can make out how many COs are consumed. With if you want to match with the normal anchor contract, you can also do that. But yeah, so these things are, we have it as a starter. Two of them have the starter, and I have few hobby projects that I was doing, like a token miner, kind of. If you heard about ore, where you can mine coins based on your solving a mathematical
Yeah.
problem, right? you're trying to solve a problem, and you can, if you get lucky, you get earn a coin. But that is what I tried to do it with Rust. It had a multi-threading and locks and all, so that one I did. Another one was a Solana React Auth. So that is a React library that you can use in your front end to authenticate people, right? Authenticate clients. So whoever is using, whoever is connecting their wallet, they can be authenticated using the Solana React Auth library. You can store your signature on the local storage, and you can use the backend to authenticate for that. And I think I
Yeah.
also did a POH implementation inspired from the white paper. I was reading the white paper some point of time. I started working on Solana, and I see that there are some differences with the current POH implementation when you compare it with the white paper. So white paper is just the simple explanation of how POH is working, but it differs in some ways because at the validator you need a few other things. So inspired from white paper, I happened to implement the POH. Yep, that was a good learn for me to understand concurrent programming, understanding locks, read write locks, multi-threading, and asynchronous times. I guess these are some of the projects I have, my personal projects worked on.
Yeah,
That's
cool,
pretty
cool.
impressive. Like having your own POH implementation. That's dude,
Yeah,
dude. You have
yeah,
like I don't know. Your mind is wild. I like the way you just go for this. Like
yeah,
the things you talk about, they are very difficult, but you're saying them so casually. You're just saying I casually implemented my own POH. Yeah. So like, does anyone have like any more questions?
No, 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 I don't. Like, I was come on my side. I've already learned a lot from Nagaprasad. I mean, like, to
Same.
me,
Yeah.
I'm an OSS, yeah, I'm an OSS contributor too, but I don't, I definitely am not full porting T2022 to Pinocchio. So, but like, yeah, like, so like, listening to him and like his process. Typically, like there were different ways I was gonna like probably approach it, but someone that's actually doing this actively, obviously, they have some sense of authority on how to approach. So, gonna apply those like my own contribution and my own contribution process. I hopefully somebody out there, basically understands that these things are not as complex or as hard as we think. It's just basically taking the first step. So yeah, cool on my side. Wonderful conversation from Nagaprasad. President T1.
Yeah, like I think that's it. Like I just got back from bowling. Like I just came back from bowling. My back hurts. Like it really hurts by the way I
Yeah,
won.
yeah,
Yeah, so pretty tired. I want to go sleep. But yeah, thank you guys for like coming here, like having this talk. FX, like we had a call earlier. Like it was 1 a.m. for him, it was 3 a.m. for him, and we recorded our
yeah,
call with Josie and Nagaprasad. Like I only asked you for this like interview today, and you were like willing to do
yeah.
it today. So like thank you so much. Like, thank
Thank
you
you.
everyone for being here. And I hope the community like appreciates this because honestly, I
Yeah,
appreciate you guys. I appreciate your efforts, your open
yeah,
source. I see it. It like you don't get someone like post on Twitter that Naga Prasad is doing so much on GitHub or whatever, but you see it.
yeah,
People will
yeah,
actually like know what's valuable, see it. So thank you
yeah,
guys, and yeah, it's been great.
yeah. Cheers, guys. Bye.
I
Yeah,
wanted to
cheers.
say
Bye.
something at last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen Parallel
Okay.
and also FX showing up on GitHub and
Yeah.
Twitter a lot. I think you guys are also making some impact.
Yeah.
Trying to get people, encouraging people to contribute more to Solana. I've seen Paralin's
Yeah.
tweets and his contributions that you have shared. Yep, I think we all should come together, and I think we should make
Yeah.
more contributions on Solana. We need people more like
Yeah.
this, who are like-minded and who
Yeah.
want to do something for themselves and also for the community, I guess. Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No problem, Chiefs. Yeah. Appreciate it, love.
Yeah. Thank you
Yeah.
guys.
Sorry for. I think. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry for the multiple takes. I don't know, probably if you're gonna cut me
Yeah,
for
by the way,
the
like
multiple takes.
the audience is not going to know this, but this is like our fourth take. Our first, second, third, like something went wrong. So this is our fourth take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you so much for the patience. While we debug on prod. Yeah. Okay. So bye, guys. Hopefully we'll catch
Yeah.
up
Bye
tomorrow.
guys. It's been great.
Bye bye.
Hopefully this actually recorded.
Yeah.